Hello everyone. In this video, we will be demonstrating our submission for the final assignment for the course CZ2002 Object-Oriented Design and Programming at NTU Singapore. For our project, we have implemented a command line interface version of our university's course registration system, known as My Student Automated Registration System, or MySTARS for short. Using object-oriented programming principles, we have implemented the admin and student sides of the application. Here are all the members in our group. Let's take a look at how the application works. When the program runs, this is the startup screen that the user sees. As you can see, the user has an option to log in as student or admin, and finally, if they don't want to log in, they can exit. Let's try logging in as an admin. The admin is prompted to enter their details, which are the admin's email as well as the password. The password has been masked, so no one can see what's being typed in the terminal. Once we enter the correct login details, we see all the options that an admin can try in the application. Let's start by looking at the first option, Edit Student Access Period. If the admin clicks this option, the admin is shown the current access period. As you can see on the screen, the current access period is December 22nd to January 6th. We're then prompted to decide whether or not we want to change this. For now, let's click Y for change. We can now enter the revised dates in date, month, and year format. So for example, let's do 22nd October 2020 to 22nd December 2020. We get a success message saying that the access period has been updated. Now we can move on and look at how we can add a student to the system. We are prompted to enter the full name of the student. Let me enter my name for now. We need to give the student an account password and an account email. Then we give the student's date of birth. As you can see, if we try to enter with an incorrect format, we get an error and are prompted to enter the date again. We need to do this so that we can extract the date, month, and year and use the calendar class in Java to store the date as a calendar object. Then we enter the school ID, the course ID, and finally the student's metric number. The student's metric number is important because in our application, a student's metric number is the code that uniquely identifies each student. No two students in the database are allowed to have the same metric number. As you can see, the student has been successfully added. Now let's try adding a course. When we add a course, we're first asked to put in the course code. For instance, let's try CZ2002. Let's call the course OODP for Object-Oriented Design and Programming. This course is under the School of Computer Science and Engineering, or SCSE, and carries 3 academic units. Finally, we enter whether or not the course has tutorials, which this one does, and also has lab sessions. We also have 2 lectures per week. So we start by saying what day the first lecture is held on. We have Tuesday, and let's say that it starts at 9:30 and is a 1 hour or 60-minute long lecture. Let's say that the lecture is held online because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We can say that the professor is Prof. Zhang. Now we need to enter the same details for the second lecture. Once we've added in a course, we can also update or delete a course. Update simply allows us to change the course object that we created by changing things such as how many lectures are in the course or at what timings the lectures are held. Similarly, we can simply delete a course. For example, if a course is not being held for a particular semester, it can be removed from the database. Before a course can be registered by students, we need to add in index numbers. Let's take a look at that. Let's say we're looking at the same course that we entered, which is CZ2002. We can give the course code a number, for example, IT04, which represents the index group. And now we can tell the program how many vacancies this index number has. Let's say this is a small class of about 20 students. Then we decide how many tutorial sessions it has, and we need to give the computer what timing the tutorial will be at. Let's say it's Wednesday 9 a.m. and lasts about an hour in TR 9. Once again, we put in the name of the professor teaching and how many lab sessions. Let's say this one has one. And let's say that the session is 2 hours long. We can say that it's in the SPL1 lab. Let's say that the lab also has the same instructor. Finally, we've added the index number. Just like we can update or delete courses, we can update or add indexes. We can also check how many slots are available in an index number. Let's look at the index number that we just entered. The index number was IT04. When we enter this, we can see that IT04 has 20 vacancies, which makes sense because no students have registered for this index number yet. Once we've logged in as a student, we can see the following options on the screen. Let's see how courses are added. Let's try to add the course that was added before, CZ2002, which had index number IT04. As you can see, because the course had vacancies, the course was added to the student's timetable. We can confirm this by looking at the check print courses available option. And as you can see, it shows the course code, the name, and the AU and the index number. We can also check vacancies for a particular course. If we go to this option and enter CZ2002, you can see that it says there's 19 out of 20 vacancies, which makes sense because we just had a student register for it. We can also use the program to drop the same course. Since the student has already registered for CZ2002, let's say they change their mind and want to drop it. If we just enter the course code, it gets dropped. Now if we look at the print check courses registered, it says that the student is not registered for any courses because he dropped the only course that he was registered for. Consider a case where we have two students, both registered for the same course but in different index numbers. On the admin side, if we decide to print student list by index number and enter IT04, which is one of the index numbers for CZ2002, we can see that we see the list of students, which currently only has one student. On the other hand, if we look at the print student list by course, this includes all index numbers under a particular course. And so now we see both students who are in different index numbers but registered for the same course. A student registered for a particular course and a particular index number may choose to remain within the course but change index numbers. This can be done in two ways. Either they can switch to an index number with vacancy, or they can swap index numbers with another student. If they choose to change index numbers, we can simply enter the index number that the student would like to switch to. Let's say we want to switch from IT05 to IT04. As we can see, we've successfully swapped index. The other way to do this is to swap with another student. Let's say the student is currently in IT05 and wishes to swap with the student that's in IT04. We can start by entering option 6, entering the course code. Then we enter the metric number of the student we would like to switch with. In this case, as you can see, there's a timetable clash and therefore we're not allowed to choose the new index. Each function in the program tries to check if a student's timetable clashes with any new courses and doesn't allow courses to be registered if they clash. Finally, a student has the option to change notification mode. If a course is full and a student is waitlisted for a particular index number, they can choose which method they want to be notified by when there is a vacancy available. By default, this is set to email, in which case a student would get an email when a vacancy opens up. However, for our program, we've also put in options to be able to change to SMS or WhatsApp. When you enter the change notification mode, it shows you what your current mode is and asks you whether you want to swap. Finally, looking at the options, you can choose the appropriate option and switch to that particular mode.